Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is Malcolm X, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about Malcolm X and related matters the chairperson of the Africana Studies Department at Tennessee State University, Dr. AAl-Hadid. And of course, Dr. Al-Hadid, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Haynes. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
And Dr. Al-Hadid, what can we say in reference to what you've already given us? Everything from Marcus Garvey to Africans in the New World, historical black colleges, just a whole number of just very interesting and important pieces of information. And we know that what you will give us today in reference to Malcolm X will equal any of that you've already given us. And so let's start off by perhaps having you to talk about your background, your education, and some of the things that you've been involved in for those few members of our audience who might not have had an opportunity to see any of the 12 or 13 different shows that you've given us. So let's start off and then we'll talk about Malcolm X.
Well, first of all, I was born in Montgomery, Alabama. I went to George Washington High School and Alabama State University, where I received a bachelor's of sociology, and also had a strong emphasis in psychology. I left the Deep South and went out on the West Coast to California, where I received a doctorate in sociology at the University of California in Santa Barbara. While studying there as a graduate student, I had an opportunity to go to Nairobi, Kenya. And it was there in Nairobi, Kenya in 1969 that I converted to the religion of Islam, and I also made the pilgrimage 6 months later, went to Mecca. Much of this was influenced by reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. So after I got my worldview and my formal education together, I then started looking for a job.
Okay.
And then, of course, I interviewed at Tennessee State University, Fisk, Meharry, and a few other places, and I settled on Tennessee State University. Been at TSU for a long time. I started in the sociology department. Then in 1994, we created the Department of Africana Studies. And since 1994, I have served for the last 13 years as chair of the Department of Africana Studies, Tennessee State University. Very good.
You know, Dr. Al-Hadid, when we talk about Malcolm X, I think that many people, and especially younger people, might not understand exactly who this individual was. And what we'd like to do today is for you to not only talk about Malcolm X, but to give us a little background information in reference to who he was and other information that you think that we ought to be interested in.
Well, as I said earlier, my interest in Malcolm started by reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. I think I must have read it about 7 times. And that was what inspired me, you know, to become a Muslim. In terms of Malcolm, here's a man born 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska, in the Midwest, just before the Great Depression. And then as a result of that, you know, his parents were followers of Marcus Garvey. We've talked about Garvey in an earlier show. And while he was growing up there in Omaha, Nebraska, because of the advocacy of his father, the family was often attacked by the Ku Klux Klan. And so when we get to, say, 1931, he's about 6 years old. Some say he was in kindergarten, maybe, you know, first grade. His father was killed, assassinated by the Klan. And he and his father were very close, and obviously that had a very traumatic effect on him. And then as he grew older and went to the 7th or 8th grade, around age 14, his mother had a nervous breakdown, and then she was committed to the Kalamazoo Mental Hospital in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And at that time, he just started losing all interest in school. He dropped out. He was committed to a number of foster homes and juvenile detention homes. So I think that was the thing that started him to drift into a world of juvenile delinquency. His oldest sister, by his father's first wife, Daisy Mae Little, saw him and then decided to take him from Michigan to Boston, where he went to Roxbury, which is like the black, you know, suburban area of Boston. And from that point, that was when he started to go into the world of crime. I think it's important that maybe we should tell the audience who Malcolm's father was.
Yeah.
His father's name was Reverend Earl Little, and his mother was Louisa Little, who was from Grenada. Okay, and so this older sister, by the first marriage, kept reminding him of the father and the commitment to the philosopher Marcus Garvey. Now, the thing that tipped the scale for Malcolm, of course, his father's killed by the Klan when he's 6 years old. His mother's committed to a mental institution by age 14. And the thing that tipped the scale in terms of him leaving grade school was that he told his teacher that he wanted to be a lawyer.
Let's break here for this first commercial break, Doctor, and then we'll pick up at this particular point. So we'll be back with you following this short commercial break. We're talking to Dr.